Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events shaping our world. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're starting with a developing story that's making waves in international relations. The United States has announced a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. This move comes after President Trump designated the Venezuelan regime as a foreign terrorist organization, citing reasons such as terrorism, drug smuggling, and human trafficking. According to reports, the blockade is aimed at curbing Venezuela's oil exports, which are the lifeblood of its economy. However, analysts are questioning the legality and effectiveness of this strategy, with some arguing that it could lead to unprecedented famine in the country. Venezuela's government has denounced the move as grotesque threats and accused Washington of seeking to steal the country's mineral riches. Lawmakers in the U.S. have also weighed in on the issue, with some condemning the blockade as an act of war. A war powers resolution is set to be voted on later this week, directing the president to end hostilities with Venezuela. The situation is complex and will continue to monitor it closely. It's worth noting that this development comes amidst a broader context of tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela. The U.S. has been seeking to exert pressure on the Venezuelan government, and this latest move is seen as an escalation of those efforts. We'll be exploring the implications of this story further in future segments. For now, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the U.S. blockade of Venezuelan oil tankers? Do you think it's an effective strategy, or could it lead to unintended consequences? Share your opinions with us on social media using the hashtag #ConcreteBlock. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into a fascinating story that's making waves in the world of technology and international relations. The European Union is standing firm on its tech laws, despite pushback from the United States, particularly from President Trump. At the center of this controversy is the EU's approach to regulating big tech companies, including Google, Meta, and Nvidia. The situation escalated when the U.S. investment in AI was called into question, with some experts warning of an AI bubble that could burst if the technology doesn't deliver on its promises soon enough. This has sparked a debate about the potential consequences for the global economy and the future of tech innovation. One expert, Johnny Ryan, suggests that the EU could use its regulatory power to exert pressure on the US, particularly by targeting Nvidia's reliance on Dutch company ASML's microchip etching machines. This could potentially give the EU leverage over the US economy, which is heavily invested in AI. On the other hand, some argue that the EU's tough stance on tech regulation could stifle innovation and harm the global economy. The US has been critical of the EU's approach, with President Trump accusing the EU of trying to undermine American tech companies. As this story continues to unfold, it's clear that the stakes are high, and the outcome will have far-reaching consequences for the tech industry and the global economy. The EU remains committed to its regulatory approach, while the US is pushing back against what it sees as overreach. The question on everyone's mind is, how will this play out? Will the EU's tough stance on tech regulation spark a trade war, or will it lead to a new era of cooperation and innovation? We'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it develops. Welcome back to Concrete Block. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a look at a developing story in international relations. We're seeing a significant shift in the dynamics of South Asia, with reports emerging of a potential new regional organization being formed by Bangladesh, China, and Pakistan. This proposed entity has raised concerns in India, which could potentially be excluded from the grouping. The idea of this new organization is still in its preliminary stages, but it's clear that the relationships between these countries are complex and multifaceted. On one hand, Bangladesh and Pakistan have been working to improve their ties, with a recent resurgence in bilateral relations. China, on the other hand, has been expanding its footprint in South Asia, which could be seen as a challenge to India's influence in the region. It's worth noting that the existing regional organization, SAARC, has been struggling to make progress in recent years. Despite its potential to foster dialogue and cooperation among member states, it has been hindered by disagreements and a lack of concrete action. The prospect of a new organization that excludes India could further exacerbate these challenges. As we consider the implications of this development, it's essential to approach the topic with nuance and balance. We must recognize the legitimate interests and concerns of all parties involved, while also acknowledging the potential risks and challenges associated with this proposed organization. Ultimately, the future of regional dynamics in South Asia remains uncertain. As we continue to monitor these developments, it's crucial to prioritize informed analysis and thoughtful discussion. By doing so, we can work towards a deeper understanding of the complex issues at play and their potential impact on the region and beyond. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.